Galacticos, it's Clasico time, the match we've all been waiting for. It's Zidane's first Clasico, and for that reason, we're going to talk about the last 5 managers' first Clasico and how they fared.
Yeah, if you haven't yet liked or subscribed, you know what to do. Give us a like. Just for some extra information, we've hit 100K followers on Facebook. So you English speakers, if you don't follow us there yet, make sure to check us out. You're going to love it. We need more of you there. And well, the idea here is basically to talk about a little bit of history, because history always helps. In this case, it's a little bit dark because I'm just gonna advance this, but you know, the first Clasico of our last 5 managers were losses. So let's go with a little bit of history then, Ashley.
So let's talk about Juan de Ramos, whose first Clasico was in December of 2008 at Camp Nou. It was a loss, a 2-0 loss. Tell us about the match, V.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Bernd Schuster, who was a manager before Juan de Ramos, was actually dismissed 4 days before that Clasico for saying in a press conference that it was impossible to beat Barcelona at Camp Nou, which is basically the biggest sin a Real Madrid manager can do. So then, in that game, really everybody was expecting us, you know, to get a beating, and Barcelona was playing beautifully. We were not doing very well. And but at the end, you know, we fought for that game. It was a game we could have won, really. We had some good chances. I remember Drente missing a one-on-one chance right there. And Barca scored their first goal in the 80th minute. It was 2-0 in the end, but, you know, we could have won it. And, well, you know, it was a bittersweet start for Juan de Ramos on the bench of Real Madrid. But, yeah, that was the first of our 5 last managers.
Yep. Bittersweet is a nice way to put it, because the next year we saw Pellegrini in his first Clasico, November of 2009, a 1-0 loss at Camp Nou as well.
Yeah, it's true, and it's just important to mention here, it was the first coach of the new Florentino era. We already had Kaká, we had Cristiano Ronaldo, and this new Florentino Galacticos time. And, well, the game was a good game. I'd say Pellegrini was faithful to his, you know, to what was working for him, which is actually one of the key points why we're doing this video, because we think coaches have to be faithful with what's working for them.
And what they believe in, the players they believe in.
To play Barca. And Pellegrini did that. And well, it was a close game. Again, we could have won it. We missed a lot of chances, which is one of the problems we talked about in other videos. You know, us having chances and not materializing them. But yeah, at the end, 1 goal by Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Remember, just 1 season there, quick pass through Barcelona for Zlatan. But he scored that goal that, you know, gave Pellegrini his first Clasico loss.
So moving on to the next big loss. I think it was Mourinho's big first Clasico loss, a 5-0 loss in November of 2010.
Yeah, it was a 5-0. To be honest with you, I was not expecting that result. Everybody was very excited about the Real Madrid of Jose Mourinho. You know, Mo came and injected that kind of edge that we had lost in the years before. And I was expecting us to, you know, fight Barcelona, maybe get a draw, maybe even win. But I think, you know, nobody was expecting Barcelona to play that way, not even them. And they played beautifully, just have to say that. And yeah, we took a beating, 5-0. Which is important to say here that Mourinho also was faithful to what was working for him, and with the same team is the Mourinho team that, you know, competed with Barcelona, that we, you know, beat them in the finals of the Copa del Rey, that we won the league at the Camp Nou with basically the same team. It just was maybe, you know, the popping the cherry, the first game against that big Guardiola Barcelona. Didn't work out for Mourinho or for any of us with a 5-0, yeah.
Well, your first Clasico loss doesn't always mean that in the future it's going to be consecutive Clasico losses.
Yeah, no, it's true. And this is perfect because this is what didn't happen with Mo. Lost 5-0, but then again, you know, some beautiful games against Barcelona with Mourinho on the bench.
So let's move on to Ancelotti.
Carleto!
Who most of us love. Also, his first Clasico was a loss, again at Camp Nou, 2-1 loss.
Yeah, this is in October, my birthday, the 26th of October, you know, 2013. And here, it's important to point that maybe Ancelotti was not faithful to his idea, because he tried to play Sergio Ramos as a 5, as a central defensive midfielder, and it didn't work. The first half, you know, we saw Barcelona beating us, and then he had to go to the dressing room in a halftime and change things around. And actually, the team that came on for the second half did a lot better, and we were actually playing a lot better than Barcelona. We could have, you know, come back and won that game. We didn't. We could have drawn that game, but we didn't. But I think this is the first time we saw the sin of the coach being kind of afraid. You know, like, you're playing with a team, but when Barcelona comes, you play differently. And that's something that maybe most of Real Madrid fans, we don't really like. You know, it's like, if we're playing one way, like, we should play any team that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ancelotti. Then we saw some. Well, Ancelotti didn't have really a good history against Barcelona. We won one Clasico 3-1 in Bernabeu. That was beautiful, but
that was on my birthday.
But that was the only time that Ancelotti beat Barcelona.
Huh. Well, speaking of fear, and what you're touching on what you're just saying, the last manager that played Barcelona was Benitez. We just saw this in November of last year, 2015, and he wasn't being true to himself. This was a loss that I think really hurt us as Real Madrid fans, a 4-0 loss, and the only Clasico in the last couple of years that we played, well, the first
Clasico for coach in the Bernabeu.
In the Bernabeu.
And it's key here to mention that, you know, the biggest Benitez's sin was not playing Casemiro in that game. He had been playing for the last months. He had been doing well. He was actually, well, not like a first option, but because of injuries, he came in the team. He was doing great. I think Benitez caved in to the pressure
of the
that, you know, put James, put Isco, and Kroos and Modric, and we saw Barcelona just, you know, walking over us, basically.
That was a rough one.
So that's a little bit of history, Galacticos, of, you know, what's happened in the first Clasico of our last 5 managers. But the real idea here is a more uplifting idea, which is
that Zidane, if there is a man to break the pattern of the first match Clasico losses for the managers, it could be Zidane. And I think Zidane, what does he need to do? I think he needs to be true to himself, be true to the players that have been playing this whole season well, and that's been working for this Real Madrid.
Yeah, and I mean, we've covered almost 10 years here, so it would be really nice to see, you know, the first Clasico of a Real Madrid manager, I would say winning, but even not losing would be great. So Zidane, if you're watching us, hopefully you are in your house or in your telephone in the Valdebebas, you know, please change history and do not lose this game.
No.
So yeah, well, Galacticos, we hope you enjoyed the video, and you know, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the Clasico, right?
Yeah, they'll be there.